What's going on, Bills Mafia? The Buffalo Bills just made a major move. Breaking news, Von Miller is no longer a part of the Buffalo Bills roster. They have released him this morning, freeing up $8.4 million in cap space for 2025, making him a pre-June 1 cut and freeing up the money to make it available for Buffalo now to get them closer and closer under the cap. Tom Pelissero with the Bills breaking news. He said the Bills are releasing 8-time Pro Bowl pass rusher Von Miller, according to him and Ian Rappaport. Miller, who turns 36 this month, has been due $17.5 million in 2025 with no guarantees, so Buffalo clears some space. Now, both sides are open to a potential return. We will talk about that potential on the back half of today's show. But before we do, we are on the road to 2,000 subs, and we're this close. We are so close, and this is why you subscribe to the Bills Breakdown, because we're going to bring you guys the Bills breaking news when it happens, discuss the ripple effects, and everything that's going to go moving forward around your Buffalo Bills. So if you're a diehard Bills fan, make sure you go down below and hit that big red sub button right now. This was a necessary move at the end of the day for the Bills. I mean, with Von taking up a $24 million cap hit heading into 2025, just a cap casualty at the end of the day. He was the second highest cap hit on the entire roster, and he wasn't the second most effective player on the entire roster, quite far from that mark. And the stats have shown it. I know he was really never the same after tearing his ACL back in 2022, because he really started his Bills tenure off really solid. 10 tackles for loss, 8 sacks in 11 games, and then unfortunately suffered that big injury. And, for a player who's post-30 and now is like 35 years old at this point, that's not an injury you're going to want to sustain. Cartilage in the knee. Like, that's not something that's going to be very, very productive or, easy to bounce back from for a premier pass rusher in this league. And then Von even said that he shouldn't have played in 2023, where he was putting up donuts across the board. And in 2024, he was solid, but he just wasn't worth keeping on a $24 million cap hit at the end of the day. Buffalo now eats $15 million in dead money, and just a necessary evil with making a move like this. Like, he was under contract until 2027, and he was going to be due a lot more money and be taking up a big percentage of Buffalo's cap, which isn't really in a great space overall. Like, they still have to make a bunch of moves to get, in a position to be able to sign guys in free agency, and they're still not under the cap just yet. Still a little bit less than $1 million over the 2025 salary cap. They have $284 million, basically $285 million in total cap allocations right now. That's like top 6 in the NFL. They have like a bottom 3 actual cap space in the league, and they're eating $27 million in dead cap right now. So it's going to be difficult for Buffalo to make moves, but there are still more moves to be made. Brandon Beane is obviously, we know over the past couple of weeks, he's been re-signing Khalil Shakir, re-signing Terrell Bernard, and re-signing Greg Rousseau as recently as yesterday. But there are still now moves to be made, because those can't be the only things that Buffalo does this offseason. They still have to create more cap space. And they can create like $30 million in cap space heading into free agency, which I know still isn't a ton to work with, but there are still more extensions that Buffalo has to get done. So to get that space kind of in a position to get done, you can restructure Josh Allen, save $11 million. You can restructure Deion Dawkins to save about 10. Restructure Curtis Samuel. I know it's crazy. We're down that bad that we have to create, do a restructure to create nearly little less than $4 million in cap space. Trading Kyer Elam, I mean, that's something that's going to be up to another team to be able to agree to. Former first-round pick, has not been the player that Buffalo has hoped he could be so far. That can create $2.5 million. Hopefully they can get like a 5th-round pick or something back for Elam. And then you can create like $27 million in cap space overall. But you still have to go out there and make the re-signings of the players that you have in-house right now, and the players that are a priority for Buffalo this offseason. Christian Benford, like Buffalo's best corner on the roster right now, he's going to be due up for a big deal, like plain and simple. And James Cook, obviously we know he's asking for $15 million a year. I'm not so sure if Buffalo's going to be able to do that now. But even if they extend one or both of these guys, I don't expect many splash signings once free agency begins externally. Like, at the end of the day, they just don't have the money to be able to do it. Like, think about if they wanted to beef up the interior of the defensive line and, sign up like a guy like Milton Williams. I'm not saying that that's like a necessary spot to improve for Buffalo, but that's a guy who's going to be commanding $25 million on a contract. And, like, the Bills are only going to have like $30 million to spend in total. Still got to sign your draft class. So, like, don't expect too many major splash signings for Buffalo. You could expect, though, a reunion between Von Miller and the Bills. Remember what Pelissero said. Both sides are open to a return. That was also reported by Adam Schefter of ESPN and Ian Rappaport of NFL Network. Von wants to come back, and the Bills are kind of open to the idea if it is on a cheap and short deal. What do you guys think? Should the Bills sign Von Miller once again to a short and cheap deal? It's not going to be costing too much. It's going to be less than the money that they ended up saving by releasing him of $8.4 million. So let me know in the comment section. Type S for sign, type P for pass if you guys want to bring Von Miller back on a cheap short deal or not. I think it's probably a decent spot to be bringing Von Miller back. Like, you think about what he could be commanding on a deal. What, 1 year, $5 million? Like, for the production that he's had even last season, I think that's a more than fair signing, especially for a guy who wants to stay in the 716. And his head coach knows that he can still perform at a decent enough level. McDermott said this at the Combine about Von. He said, love Von. I think people sometimes forget he came in and had success early, and then he went through the knee situation. The thing I love about Von is he very rarely, if ever, used the kind of victim role approach. He always was, hey, I'm coming back. I'm going to be back. I'm working on it. Mentally, he's just so elite. To come off a knee injury, particularly when you're 30 plus, is a challenge. I thought this year was a lot better than the year before, and that's really what you want to see. I don't hate a reunion for cheap. At the end of the day, like, he can come back, he can produce, give you 5 sacks, give you 20 pressures on the season, like, and be a rotational pass rusher and a really good mentor for a guy like Greg Rousseau, who just signed a major contract extension. Like, he got 4 years, $80 million with $54 million guaranteed. He's going to be on the team through 2029, and we would all absolutely fall to our knees if Greg Rousseau turned into the player that was even 3/4 of what Von Miller was at his peak. If you keep him around, you can keep him kind of shoring up and refining the things that he needs to refine in his game, and Greg Rousseau can be that alpha pass rusher that Buffalo is going to need to game wreck against some of the best quarterbacks in the AFC, and they're not going to necessarily be in a spot to go get a guy like that can go game wreck right away right now. They don't have a ton of cap space, and Myles Garrett just signed a record deal with the Cleveland Browns. We'll actually come at you guys with another video detailing that more later, and then what Buffalo should do as far as trading for a big-time superstar. Keep in mind, DK Metcalf might be the new priority at this point because Brandon Beane said he wants to add speed. He wants to be a faster football team in the 2025 season. That's what wins football games at the end of the day. So Garrett is unfortunately out. You're not saying stuck with, but there aren't a ton of big time game wrecking pass rushers available in free agency right now. There's a couple of guys who are a little bit past their prime, might not be commanding big money, but Buffalo is still going to need an alpha at that spot, in my opinion. Can't be running Greg Rousseau and only have AJ Epinesa on the other side. Let me know in the comment section, though, who's the first player that Buffalo makes a signing for in 2025 NFL free agency? They obviously have made a couple of re-signings at this point, like extensions of guys who are already under contract for next season, and they have a couple more to go. But who is the first player that the Bills signed to a new contract in 2025 NFL free agency? Let me know down in the comment section. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel. That will do it for today's edition of the Bills Breakdown by Chat Sports. We're on the road to 2,000 subscribers. We're 68 away. If you're a diehard Buffalo Bills fan, you love free, informative, entertaining content about your football team every single day. Make sure you go down below and hit that sub button right now. As always, go Bills.